come on. Okay, fine, whatever.
What?
You're just a fart.
What?
Come on.
What am I doing the whoa for?
You don't want to whoa?
For what?
Fine. Do we want a Super Bowl, Super Browns because he started for the rest of the year?
Well, I tried to do it yesterday and you got mad at me.
Because they had just lost.
I don't want to water down the Super Bowl, Super Browns.
Well,
They went for 4 touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah,
they didn't want to do it.
It's supposed to be watered down.
Ken seemed like pedestrian performance for the kid.
No, that's not what I said. No. I said they lost. That's what I was upset about. I did not think it was a pedestrian performance. In fact, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. He started for the rest of the year. Super Bowl, Super Browns, yeah. Started for the rest of the year. Lima?
Were you surprised that he said that yesterday? I certainly wasn't.
I actually was. Because it's like, I don't know. It just seems to be everything is pulling teeth. And so it's like, is he the starter for the rest of the year? Well, we're going to go week to week. We're going to continue to go week to week. We're going to continue to go week to week. And he has a really good performance, and he did have a really good performance. And now he's the starter for the rest of the year. And it's like, well, there's 4 games left. Yes, you would say it, but I just expected them to do the opposite of what you would say, right? I thought they would. I seriously thought they would. But here they are, and they're going to start him for the rest of the year, and that's a good thing because we got to evaluate what we have there. Can I share one little thing from yesterday, by the way? When it comes to the 2-point conversions, maybe you're done talking about them. Maybe not. Are you done talking about it?
Well, it was funny
conversions?
To see the national guys jump in on that conversation, and a lot of the film gurus. It's so funny how people talk about this stuff. You had the vibes people, like can't ever take a guy off the field in that kind of a rhythm, and then you had the X's and O's people who are like, that's a great play design. That's an easy walk-in. Mm-hmm. They obviously felt very confident they were going to be able to do that. They've obviously worked on it. I think they said they'd worked on it joint practice all the way back then. They had set the play up throughout the year. Mm-hmm. So that was like a guaranteed, when we run that play, it is 100% going to work. And then it shows you just in football the difference between a very good plan, a lot of smart design, a lot of ingenuity, and, they actually have to execute the play.
But I go back to something else. It's the first 2-point conversion that didn't even get off the ground. It was a fumbled snap. Mm-hmm. You know, Luke Whippler had a false start or an illegal snap later on in that game. And I'm thinking, boy, that matters. That does matter. There's clearly a difference in cadence and what Luke Whippler thinks is going to happen if that happened. And I'm going, did we ask a lot about the center quarterback exchange here over the last couple of days? Did they ask him in any post game or anything like that? Did they ask yesterday about the center quarterback exchange?
They asked Kevin about it.
They did? Okay.
Yesterday.
Okay, because that's something I thought about. It was like 10:01. I kind of want to run back on the air and say something like that because it was 09, I think is the one clip. I just wanted to make sure because he did have a mishap later in the game that cost him 5 yards. Go ahead.
Yeah, no confusion in the snap. Obviously, center quarterback exchanges, you don't want them to show up in a game like that. Those guys have had plenty of reps together. You get reps before and after a series, those type of things. So that was unfortunate for that to happen at that moment.
Okay, but then again, it did happen again later in the game. It doesn't usually happen in the NFL.
He was referring to specifically the 2-point conversion there.
The first 2-point conversion, yeah. Yes. But and then I should say again, it happened later in the game. It cost him 5 yards. Yeah. And I happen to wonder, that's all. Maybe there's a difference in how it goes. I mean, I'm sure they've had one's a backup, the other one's been a backup.
Ethan Posick's been the starting center for 4 years now?
Yeah. And so it would stand within reason, but I don't think that they expected that. And these are little things that you just wonder about.
But it's also even more credit to give to Shedeur and that offense for being able to overcome a lot of that to get back into the game, or at least have a shot to get back into the game. So I think that that was all stuff you factor in.
So what's he got to prove to hold on to the job for the rest of the year? Or excuse me, what's he got to do to hold on to the job going into 2026?
So to be like the unequivocal starter next year, no competition in camp, don't even think about drafting a quarterback?
Yeah. What's he got to do?
Oof.
I think I know what he's got to do.
That to me is a really high bar that I didn't think he had any shot. When he got drafted, I put out a tweet like that week, and I said, I don't think people understand how hard it's going to be for him to not only graduate up the ranks to be able to play and then to play well enough for them to do that. And now he's already gotten to this point. There was some help. They traded guys ahead of him away. Other guy in front of him got concussed and wasn't playing well anyway. So a lot has already happened to get him there, which it's amazing we're even having this conversation. But the next part of that is going to be so much harder than everything he's done to this point, because it has to be without a shadow of a doubt, and he doesn't know who the decision makers are going to be. Because right now, we can all say that all the reporting is that everybody's coming back. Stefanski's coming back, Barry's coming back, but talk to me in a month. There's still a lot that can change in this league. True. Shedeur also has to take the hits for another month, and he's going to have one of the worst offensive lines. Is he going to be able to survive that? He survived it
so far
on Sunday against Tennessee.
So far,
but he also took the most hits in the league. We can get into those numbers that came out after the film study and all that.
Where are they at on the draft list here?
Fourth and 27?
So if they finish 3-14, where could they end up finishing?
Still probably fourth, right?
Okay, is it still fourth or something like that? Because I would feel they'll probably be.
Yeah, Tennessee, Vegas, and the Giants are ahead of them.
Okay. Well, the Giants don't need a pick, or the Giants don't need a quarterback. I'm being dreadfully serious here, gentlemen. The Giants don't need a quarterback. Who else? Who else do you say? Tennessee don't need a quarterback. At least we assume. Who else is ahead of them?
Yeah, we're making a lot of assumptions. Like Tennessee, there's always chatter, but they say they love Cam Ward right now, but you never know. You never
know. They're going to have a new head coach, but they still have the same general manager that took Cam Ward. So I imagine no. What you need him to do is he has to continue to grow, continue to develop, continue to play well, and he's doing those things. What you also need him to do is win a game or two. Is really what happens. Because then, like if you end up at number 1 or number 2, I think the temptation is going to be too great. And if you win a game or two...
Because you don't ever know when you're going to be up that high again.
Yes, and I think the temptation for the Browns is going to be too great. Plus, again, we do not know what's going to happen with this front office. And I keep trying to say there is a clear line right there for everybody to see of what the rest of the league... and what the insiders, what they think, because they just talk to these people in the league. I mean, good God, we're going to play the Breer at around 6:40 today. There's a clear line about what the rest of the league and then what the general public, and that even includes former players, what the general public thinks of Shedeur Sanders. And if they get there where it's a new general manager and a new coach, and you're number 1 or number 2, I wonder where they're going to go on that. Because I think that this is a team that's obsessed with finding their franchise quarterback. And their franchise quarterback may very well be right there playing for them right now. All right? He's got to show it through the next 4 games. And that means he's going to have to play very well, like he did on Sunday. They're going to have to turn it over, and they're going to have to win a couple of these. Now, they're not a good football team, and you're playing some good football teams, so that's going to be difficult. But I think you want to make sure, because if you're drafting like 5th or 6th, and you know what the price tag may be to move up to number 1 or number 2, you could go, well, let me see, because he's going to have to play well for them to beat some of these teams. So I could get to January and go, whoa, no. Now, they're drafting 6. We don't need to be moving things around for a couple of these guys. He's played well in NFL games. Now, there's still Dante Moore left to see in the playoffs. There's still Fernando Mendoza left to see in the playoffs. But I'm just giving you what the exact thought of it is when it comes to maybe a new general manager coming in or a new head coach coming in or both coming in, where they may think differently about this. And if they do, like, you got to kind of make sure that he shows that this is the guy. This is the guy. And I hate the argument using, well, it's just Tennessee. They're still pros. Those aren't high school kids over there. Pros are pros. And if you still have this guy showing this, not just against Tennessee, but against the Bears or against the Bills defense, the Cincinnati defense, I mean, there's things there that you can do where I could go, all right, I don't need to be moving up from 5 or 6 or 7 to go after one of these guys. Let's see what this young man has. I may very well be willing to do that. Yeah. Because, again, I'm a general manager who's not going to get fired. You are the same way, so we have time. Right. So I could be more than willing to go, hey, let's give him an off season
but obviously
to work with this and see where it goes.
Obviously, you can imagine what happens if, like, Mendoza, who's going to win the Heisman, has a chance to win the national championship, has been one of the great stories. Just like Shedeur was a great story in college football, this has a chance to be an even better story in college football. Again, Shedeur took on a program that, was a disaster and a laughing stock. What do you think Indiana was? And Indiana's beaten better competition and being able to do it on a landscape that we would have never considered possible. If he pulls this off, there is going to be some sentiment like that kid is special. That kid has, the tangibles and the intangibles. He has both, much of like a lot of the stuff we said about Shedeur. Looks like there's some leadership stuff there that is pretty interesting. Some competitiveness, quirky. You say a lot of that stuff about Shedeur Sanders has certainly some quirks as well. So there's a lot of interesting comparisons. The difference is Mendoza will be number one, has a chance to be number one overall pick. And Shedeur, we thought before the combine, had a chance to be, maybe the second quarterback taken. And then the free fall. Mm-hmm. So you imagine if you had a chance to take that kid, you passed up on him, and Shedeur plays more like third, fourth, fifth round pick next year in year two when everybody has film on him. We're going to be sitting there doing a what if, and this is a different what if.
Well, this is all predicated.
This would be a much different what if from Jackson Dart. Because nobody talked about Jackson Dart in the top 5.
Understood.
This is, hey, you had a chance we have been stockpiling the assets to go up and get whoever we want in this draft. I know the complexion has changed. There's no Arch Manning, Nussmeier. You can go through the whole list of guys that we thought. Drew Aller, that all went away.
God, I feel bad for him.
But this guy has emerged, and they had made that Travis Hunter trade or whoever they were going to take to trade down. Great that they got Mason Graham. He's awesome. But it was about the pick. It was about getting another first-round pick so you had the ammo. And now you have the ammo, and you're going to let a small sample at the end of a lost year where what are you playing for, whatever. Like, that's a very serious assessment. And if you use that at the end of a year, we see crazy stuff happen all the time at the end of a football season, and you're like, oh, crap, we made long-term evaluations and big strategic changes based on the Browns are eliminated from the playoff and there's some fun moving the ball up and down the field against bad teams and you're losing.
But you're playing against some pretty good teams.
Think about what I just said.
I understand that. But they're playing against some pretty good teams coming up.
Yes.
That's why I got to tell you.
They are.
I know that it's like, well, you guys just want people to listen. Well, of course, it's a radio show for crying out loud. But I look back on this yesterday. I was going back through some of the stuff and I go, man, we've had a lot of real bad seasons that have ended with just a total fart on everybody's pillow. But I got 4 games left in this season. I'm thinking there's a lot of pressure on this to figure out what's going to happen with the future. What's going to happen with Kevin? What's going to happen with Andrew? But most importantly, what's going to happen with the quarterback? What's going to happen with Shedeur? What's going to happen with him? Because I just want to show everybody, guys, I'm open-minded. I liked him coming out. I didn't think he should have been a 5th-round draft pick for crying out loud.
You and I were in agreement on that.
I wasn't crying like Mel Kiper Jr. for crying out loud, but I didn't think he should have been a 5th-round draft pick. I thought it was silly that he fell to Saturday. I was excited that we got him. I'll never forget the day at Flying Monkey.
We had some fun that day.
But now that we have him and that he's growing, and he's climbing the pocket. He's starting to look off certain people. Yeah, I understand in the end zone, he took the tougher of the 2 throws because he did have Harold Fannin. I expect him, though, to see that on tape and fix that. Mm-hmm.
Could be quick, very quick learner.
He's growing quickly. And if he's able to grow this quickly, then I find myself excited for these 4 games to see what can he do. Because to me, as a Browns fan here long term, it's no harm, no foul. I hate to be this way with a guy's career. If he goes out and he shows that he can do it over the next 4 games, let's talk turkey here.
Yeah.
Let's talk big stuff.
I'm open.
But if he doesn't show it over the next 4 games, well, that's why you stockpiled these 2 draft picks for. Mm-hmm. So I have to look at it pragmatically from long-term view and right here. I want the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns to do well. I want a young quarterback who's likable to do well. He's all those things. I want him to do well. And so I want him to do well over the next 4 games because I would love to have it going, okay, I have confidence in him with now an offseason, and I know they'll have an offseason to tape. I have confidence in him with an offseason to make better, to get better, and to continue to grow going into year 2. And we'll be able to use these 2 picks or even trade out, use one of them. If you want to stockpile for next year, you can always do that. Leave yourself an out. But there's a lot of different options that you can make. But we're just starting to roll up our sleeves and to go, what's going to go on here? I think that this is a pivotal 4-game stretch for all of our happiness, because I don't want to be sitting over here going, I can't believe we missed out on this, that, and the other coming up next December. So there's a lot that he has to show, because if we get changes the way that everybody's advocating for, that's going to mean new people, and that's going to mean that this league can be a very stubborn league, and I wouldn't trust any of them. For all the Shedeur fans who drop in on us every day, and we're thankful for your time with us, I wouldn't trust any of these other people to come in and go, oh, yeah, that's the guy. No. Because that's still in my mind that I had to be surprised on a Saturday afternoon with you at a bar in the 5th round, and we got people coming from one of those organizations that passed on him so many times over. We ain't out of the woods. It's a great game. We ain't out of the woods.
May have been a part of the spreading of the propaganda about all the mishaps behind the scenes that caused him to plummet in the draft. And that guy could be a decision maker for the Browns next year.
Zagura was on Afternoon Drive yesterday. Nathan is one of our favorite guests. We have him on Fridays, but he gets his crack with Afternoon Drive on Mondays. And he said about the next 4 games for Shedeur and the importance.
I mean, if I keep seeing what I saw in this game, I think that answers it. Now, you want him to, the interception was bad. Yeah, and that's part of, you live with it a little bit, right? You try to do too much, and sometimes it turns into great plays, and sometimes it doesn't. But, you want to clean down maybe some of those, what I would call bad decisions. You want to make sure we don't get into some spots where we kind of have some of these lulls like we've had in a couple of these starts. But for the most part, he's shown the ability to attack you at all levels of the field. He's shown the ability to work inside the numbers and outside near the sidelines. I like what I've seen, and we just need to continue to see more and see it consistent, If he goes out there and you play these games competitively against these playoff teams, then hopefully, obviously, you want to win them. But as long as you're playing competitive football with these teams in December and he's looking good, I think you're well on your way to being able to make that answer.
So you hear what Nathan says. I love the answer. I felt the same thing in real time. When he threw the pick, I thought, let's see how he responds to this, because the pick was terrible. It was a terrible decision. But if the guy is learning and he's good enough, you're going to live with terrible decisions. Young people make terrible decisions all the time. That's why they're young. They make them in real life, and they make them in the NFL on the field. And I thought he responded to it pretty well. I thought for a second we could have a nosedive where we just weren't going to get him anymore in the second half, and then things started to pick back up, and he played confidently. Sometimes when a young guy plays confidently, he made plays like that in college football. Sometimes you tend to think because you're under the gun, you can make him in the NFL. I end up being, I don't like losing. I don't like that it flipped the scoreboard eventually. But at the same time, I understand what our record is, and I understand that I got a good player going in that football game anyway. So I'm willing to accept it if it means growth. So we'll see if it means growth here. But I've noticed here where, Nathan and I, or Nathan and anybody will talk about, there was some growth there. The moving of the goalposts. Well, you're moving your goalposts. And I'm being accused of moving the goalposts in. You're being accused of moving the goalposts out. So where are we moving the goalposts on this?
This became like, this stuff will catch wildfire in terms of, copycats and people online. They just all start using the same phrase. And all the Shedeur fans were using this phrase yesterday. And I'm like, man, moving the goalposts means, you're changing your parameters of an evaluation. And I'm like, who's done that here? Like we always said, and I've been adamant, it's going to be really hard for Shedeur to play well enough to strike the notion of going up to get a quarterback next year. Well, he started the process, and he did so against the easier teams that he's going to be going up against, and now here come the harder teams. That's what I said 4 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, but
I said this is when he got the starting job, when after that concussion, and even after I didn't count the Baltimore stuff, I didn't care that he played poorly in the second half and quite frankly looked like he didn't belong in the league in that second half. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. He's going to get reps now, and we've always heard he's a. And
I was terrified how he was going to look against Las Vegas. Absolutely terrified.
And then he came out, he
this
debunked
seems to be oil and water. This doesn't look well.
Yeah, he debunked it immediately, and it was awesome to see. And I was like, good. We didn't want to see Dylan Gabriel the rest of the year. We were worried about whether we'd see Deshaun Watson, towards the end of the year. Well, what did he do? He came in and played well. Awesome. He's going to have to do that and continue to. I don't think he has to win. I know what you were saying in the last segment about well, the winning because now that takes them further away from the number one pick. Like, I get what your point was.
I want the decision taken away from them. That's why. Let me clarify real quick. I want the decision taken away from them. If Shedeur plays well, I want there to be something tangible at the end. One, because winning breeds confidence. So that's going to help out Shedeur. You beat one of these four football teams that are still in the hunt, that's going to be good. Two, it makes it harder to move up with other teams. Now, I know that a couple of those teams ahead of you are still not teams that maybe need quarterbacks. I get it. But it still makes it harder for you to move up with that Jacksonville pick. Because, again, we got Dane Brugler writing that they're going to move up. And I think that they're a very, very, very desperate team for a quarterback. Maybe the most desperate in all of professional football history for a quarterback. And I think they're willing to do what's necessary if they believe in that guy. If you want Shedeur in 2026, he's got to prove it. And one of those things I help him to do it is going to be winning a football game here. And taking them further away from number one.
You know, look, there's going to be a lot to overcome. Obviously, it's like they have no running game right now. The Judkins stuff is like falling off a cliff, and it's not even Judkins' fault, I don't think. You know, that mistake that he didn't pitch the ball notwithstanding. Like, he has not been able to get any kind of breathing room. He's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. Obviously, we understand that the wide receiver room to begin with wasn't good. Now, Harold Fannin is emerging as a potential star here, and he is having an amazing, amazing rookie campaign, no matter who's throwing him the football. Whether it was Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders. Like, Harold Fannin, that's one constant. Like, it doesn't seem to matter who the quarterback is. He's had a few more opportunities down the field with Shedeur, that's for sure. So that's been awesome to see. But overall, talent-wise, now with this offensive line, and I don't know the status of Jack Conklin, but even when he's played, he's been not necessarily a strength. So this is not going to be easy at all against these teams coming up that are vying for the playoffs. And that's part of the evaluation, but that's been the evaluation that's been uttered. I know the Shedeur fans that have kind of parachuted in here, they think we just started doing radio 2 weeks ago. Like, we've been here since day one, and we have said this is the situation that they're in. So I haven't moved the goalposts at all. They have literally been in the exact same location.
The only thing that I think moves my goalposts, they're right there. The only thing that does it is really the play of Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore. I want Shedeur to do well. If Shedeur does well, let's talk. If Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore, like I think there's going to be a lot of people who either they're Browns fans and you don't want to take QBs, you're afraid to take QBs. All right, well, there's 20 years of history that would tell you why you're. I mean, me and Dave Denholm have been going back and forth. I go, Dave, you're just a Browns fan and you're afraid to take any QB. And I'm not going to hear it. If they're there, you better get yourself ready because they're going to do it. And I look at it and I say, what will change? Well, I think Shedeur is going to grow. He will have definitely a lot of things getting in his face over the next 4 games. But I think that Shedeur can grow. It's going to be the play then of them. First off, the Browns winning a game, but also if Fernando Mendoza doesn't look good in the postseason or Dante Moore doesn't look good in the postseason, these things tend to stick. Because I wonder if you end up having the number 1 overall pick or the number 2 overall pick, what does one of those performances do? Like, I remember people hated Baker Mayfield after he planted the flag. And then we got the number 1 pick, and he beat Ohio State, and that showed a lot of guts to do what he did. And people started to change their opinion on that. And I think, gosh, you end up with that number 1 pick some way, somehow. You end up number 1 or even number 2. And you go back and go, yeah, Fernando Mendoza's kind of a dork, but he's got all these other things, and he's a nice young man. Maybe you'll go ahead and do it. But the next 4 games shows what it has to be done. I think I got a better chance of moving the goalpost depending on what the college quarterbacks do as opposed to what Shedeur Sanders does. Because I think right now, again, you go out there, you play well, you move this offense. I want you to elevate the team to win in the NFL because we keep saying, it's an expensive team. All right, well, Andrew Berry thought that these players were worth it at some point here, so let's see if you can elevate them to help them win. And if you do that, 2026 may very well be yours. Yeah, I want to keep an open mind about it.
But you're right.
I'm worried about who's coming in.
You're right about that you're constantly comparing him to and it's hard. We're watching Mendoza, and we have to take...
Against college players, not the NFL.
Now Mendoza's had some huge moments in the fourth quarter on the road against Oregon. NFL players littered throughout that that roster. Penn State in the fourth quarter. Again, NFL players all over. I know Penn State's been disappointing, but they actually came on at the end of the year defensively. And obviously Ohio State, NFL players all over the roster. And now to win a national championship, Mendoza's got 3 more games. This is all part of the evaluation, and we're not moving any goalposts. We said it all along, like Mendoza's full season will be evaluated, and Shedeur Sanders' full season, after he got the opportunity, will be evaluated.